I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lancaster County Lincoln Planning Commission of September 17, 2025. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, are available online or at the Planning Department, room 213. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. In addition, a copy of all staff reports and other relevant documents for the matters to be considered by the Planning Commission are included in a binder that is located on the dais and is available to the public for review. Out of courtesy to those attending this meeting, commissioners and the staff, cell phones may not be used in the chamber during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. The Planning Commission action today is final on the following items. Item 4.2C, Preliminary Plat 25001, and Item 4.3, Special Permit 25028. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council or the County Board by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council or the County Board. The first item of business is the approval of minutes of the regular meeting held September 3rd, 2025.
Move to approve, Campbell.
Second, Evans.
Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Abstain.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will now ask Shelley to read all the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Shelley, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Item 1.1, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 25005, Growth Tier Amendment, generally located at South Folsom Street and West Pioneers Boulevard. Item 1.2, Annexation 25005, Annexation of property generally located at South Folsom and Street and West Pioneers Boulevard. Item 1.3A, Annexation 25007, Annexation of property in Highland View, generally located at Northwest Avalanche Road and West Beartooth Drive. Associated with Item 1.3B, Change of Zone 25021 from AG Agricultural to R3 Residential, Highland View, generally located at Northwest Avalanche Road and West Beartooth Drive. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
There are none.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
There are none.
If there is anyone here wishing to speak on these consent agenda items, please stand and state that item.
We do not see anyone here that would like to speak on the consent agenda items. We would now entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda. Campbell.
Second, Evans.
Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Consent agenda approved 7-0.
There are no requests for deferral, so we will now proceed to public hearings. Prior to a staff making a brief presentation, each staff person should state their name, agency, and address. The applicant will then be requested to present their testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members or included as part of the record, please provide them to the clerk. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The clerk will use the light system to help aid your timing for your testimony. The lights will appear on the monitors provided. The clerk will indicate when you have 1 minute remaining to wrap up your testimony. The red light indicates that your 5 minutes have expired. Once the final minute has lapsed, the clerk will indicate that your time is up. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Shelley, please call the first public hearing item.
Item 4.1A, Comprehensive Plan Conformance 25009, to review as to conformance with the 2050 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan to declare land surplus on a portion of city property located within a Highlands Golf Course, generally located at Northwest 12th and West Fletcher Avenue. Associated with item 4.1B, change of zone 25013 of approximately 0.03 acres from O3 Office Park District to P Public, and approximately 0.70 acres from P Public to 03 Office Public District on property generally located at Northwest 13th Street and West Fletcher Avenue. Associated with item 4.1C, use permit 04004A to amend the existing use permit to add 72 multifamily units, a permanent outlet for drainage, adjust the use permit boundary and associated waivers on property generally located at Northwest 13th Street and West Fletcher Avenue. I will note a staff memo dated September 11th was sent to Planning Commission members identifying a minor condition to the conditions of approval for use permit 04004A. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these applications?
There are none?
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
There are none.
Emma Martin, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. This is a request to amend use permit 04004 to develop 3.45 acres on property located southwest of Northwest 13th Street and West Fletcher Avenue with associated waivers, combined with change of zone number 25013 and comprehensive plan conformance number 25009. These three applications are heavily related to each other, so I'll present them together. Because of that, this presentation may take a bit longer, so please sit tight. And I'll also be switching between the computer and the projector a bit, so please bear with me. For now, so I'll introduce use permit, the application to amend the use permit first. So this amendment will add 72 multifamily dwelling units on an outlot that is currently reserved for future development by the original use permit, and will make minor changes to the boundary of the use permit. The original use permit, the existing use permit is zoned O3 Office Park District and is currently approved for 94 dwelling units. The addition of the 72 multifamily units will bring the total number of units in the use permit to 166, which does fit within the density calculations. The outlot allows for a density of up to at least 100 units. While the development is part of the existing use permit, it will not be connected via roadways to the existing residential area to the east. All vehicular traffic will take access from West Fletcher Avenue, as you can see here, and be directed through private driveways. The original use permit did show future residential access to and from the outlot and Northwest 14th Court here, but this proposal has removed that. The only connection now is a pedestrian sidewalk to and from the court, which you can see kind of right there. The change to the boundary involves the addition of 0.70 acres and the removal of 0.3 acres due to, 0.03 acres due to the need for a detention area, which you can see here on Outlot B. The existing outlot did not have enough area for the proposed layout in the detention area. And so here is where I'm going to switch to our lovely projector. Excuse me. So the applicant approached The applicant approached the city with a request to purchase 0.7 acres of Highlands Golf Course property to the south to provide the additional space needed. This is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 25009, and this is the request to surplus that portion of city-owned property so that it may be used for stormwater management for the development. This request has been found to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan as areas designated for green space, as the Highlands Golf Course is for the future. Is designated for by the 2050 future land use map, by the land use map, such as the golf course. May also function as stormwater management areas and as a buffer between green space and other uses. And in this case, that detention area will serve as both a buffer and as stormwater detention. So it is fulfilling that alternate purpose, not as green space, but as detention and a buffer between residential use and future green space. So this is the area that will be surplused here. And I'll get into the change of zone. So the change of zone, and you'll also, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board has recommended approval of the surplus designation, and they're the ones who manage the golf course. And no other city department has had any objections to the surplus. Please also note that the applicant has relinquished approximately 0.03 acres of property along West Fletcher Avenue up towards further north to the city, which will be used as an additional buffer for the future pedestrian and bicycle trail, which is anticipated along the south side of West Fletcher Avenue. This leads then into change of zone 25013, which is directly associated with both the comprehensive plan conformance and the use permit, which is a request to change the 0.7 acres of surplus from P public zoning to O3 office park zoning, and the 0.03 acres from O3 zoning to public zoning. So if CPC 25009 is approved, public zoning is no longer appropriate for the 0.7 acres, which since it will now be private land being used for private detention. The O3 zoning will match the existing use permit and will be more appropriate for the private use. The O3 zoning over the 0.03 acres will not be appropriate for a public pedestrian buffer, bicycle and pedestrian trail buffer. So the P is more appropriate and will help show the difference between the use permit and public land. The really, really simple version of this is that the CPC is a surplus of the city-owned property that the applicant will purchase for use of detention area, and the change of zone will change it from public to office park district so that they can have a detention area that is in conformance with LTU watersheds requirements, and there has been no objections from parks or from other city staff or departments. If you have any questions at the end, let me know. I know there was a lot of numbers and kind of circular, but that's the gist of it. But let me know. Mm-hmm. But so moving back more directly into the use permit, where we will now move back to our wonderful computer. There is, the applicant has also requested 2 waivers. The first is to reduce the rear yard setback, which you can see here. They want to reduce the rear yard setback requirement from 40 feet, which is standard in the O3 district, from 40 feet to 30. This will allow for a 270-foot buffer to the industrial zoning to the north. Across West Fletcher Avenue is I2 zoning. And generally, the Lincoln Lancaster Health Department requests a 300-foot buffer between residential zoning and industrial zoning. In this case, the site, the outlot is kind of shaped kind of funky, and it was an existing condition. So as a compromise, it was the reduction of the setback from 40 to 30 to get a further distance and a rearranging of the site to put the garages and the apartments, switching them around to get further distance to protect residents, protect those vulnerable populations, while also keeping a distance from the golf course and protecting property and people from any potential accidents, because golf balls can fly and we don't want people to get hurt and we don't want property to get hurt. The second request is to waive requirements for a sidewalk to the west of the proposed drive. This proposed drive specifically. There is a 10-foot wide trail easement, so a bike and pedestrian trail. Excuse me, lost my place. Shown along the south side of West Fletcher, so along this portion of West Fletcher Avenue. The developer has proposed that they will install a 10-foot wide trail to the east of the proposed drive to avoid the need for future removals of sidewalk to expand a 5-foot wide sidewalk when West Fletcher Avenue is expanded. Because West Fletcher Avenue in the future, they might add another lane. It's proposed to expand. So in exchange, the developer will not be required to build the sidewalk to the west, where my cursor is, of the proposed drive. This will be the responsibility of the city of Lincoln at such a time as the build out of West Fletcher is complete. Both waiver requests are justified and have been recommended for approval. By developing the existing outlot, the use permit application is consistent with the existing use permit and the associated change of zone and comprehensive plan conformance applications help reach that goal. Multifamily dwellings are permitted use, is a permitted use in the O3 zoning district, and the addition of multifamily units do support the 2050 comprehensive plan's goals and policies for accessible housing and the policies surrounding housing affordability and developing neighborhoods. So it meets with municipal zoning code as well. After that, are there any questions? Anything I can clear up?
I think we're good for now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Excuse me.
Okay, testimony from the applicant.
Good afternoon, Rick Onan with ENA Consulting, 2077 N Street.
Bob Lewis for the developer owner, 7101 South 82nd, Lincoln.
Thank you.
I'll start off with another minor amendment. We noticed this morning some language in one of the conditions of approval, condition number 3, that talks about the timing of building the sidewalk that Emma just mentioned. It says that the current language says that that driveway needed to be built prior to building permit. We're just asking that that language be changed to say occupancy permit, because that sidewalk would typically be built at the same time as the building. So have a copy of.
Oh, thank you.
As Emma mentioned, this area was originally under use permit approved back in 2005. This particular parcel that we're looking at developing at this time, at that time was not developed due to a lack of availability of gravity sewer. So the developer, after sitting on it for several years, has decided that he would use a use of apartments rather than townhomes. That allows him to put in a private sewage pump that would serve those units as a single lot, if you will. So that's kind of the impetus for why we're here. Early on in the process, the developer approached, as we started looking at layouts, it became clear that it was going to be tough to get the number of units that we needed to make it financially feasible with the land that was available. So developer approached Highlands Golf Course about the availability to use some of their ground for detention. We were initially thinking maybe just an easement, got into discussions with the golf course and Parks and Rec, and settled on a purchase agreement that Emma had touched on. So we've been through that process for better than a year now, going through several different meetings and different committees with Parks and Rec. As far as access to the site, Emma mentioned that the original plan so the current approved plan for this area calls for access off of Northwest 14th and then a right-in, right-out access onto Fletcher Avenue. Again, early on in the process, the developer met with the homeowners association for the townhomes to the east. They were not supportive of that drive connection. So we kind of went through a series of concept revisions. We looked at an option to do a gated access there that would have a would be accessible by
Knox box.
yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So this is how we ended up with the layout. The connection here, there's just a what do you call it, for a pedestrian sidewalk for access. We made sure that we had the situation where we could get a fire truck turned around inside. Worked with the fire truck operators to verify that that was acceptable, and so all the access to the facility would then come off of the Fletcher Avenue Road. One thing that we did change in terms of what was previously approved. The previous approval did not show the left turn movement for westbound traffic in Fletcher Avenue, but we have encouraged and received a go-ahead from LTU that was acceptable. So helps a lot with in terms of how the different traffic circulates into and out of the area. The last thing I've got, we're dealing with one other thing that we're dealing with, and we've requested that is a issue to be dealt with by City Council, would be the length of the turn lanes that are proposed there. Again, that's really an issue to be dealt by City Council, but we can certainly explain that if you have questions on that. That's really all I've got. Open for questions.
Yeah, one, Christine.
Go ahead.
If I were to be exiting from the apartment, just remind me, does Fletcher would I have to turn right, or can I cross over Fletcher and turn left?
You would be required to turn right.
You would be required to turn
right.
right. Okay. There
And
is
there's-
a median in there.
Right, and there's a roundabout just to the east. So you
Perfect.
would go up and go through the round. If you're wanting to turn west, you go through the roundabout, come back from the west.
We're just talking about roundabouts.
Great, good job clarifying that, that's great. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, we are requesting testimony in support. Testimony in a neutral capacity. Testimony in opposition.
Okay.
Yeah, come on up.
I don't know if it's opposition or neutral. Where do I stand here?
In front of either mic is
Microphone.
fine.
Either mic.
Where we can,
And then is this
Mic.
on to show the,
Yeah.
Right.
It just
So
takes a
if
little
you
bit.
Go to a microphone and give us your name and address to start with. And then we do have your picture on the overhead, so that'll be good.
yeah, I'm from Catherine Gabel, and UNL last 2 years turned over to Teachers College from the College of Arts and Sciences. And I am a homeowner since these were built, and I put down payment in 2006 as they finished the blocks south, and then I am right on lot 33, and we just got notice of this last Monday from our homeowners association, and it said, you know, you can turn in your comments by tomorrow at 8. I thought, whoa. So, but I called in kind, maybe it was Emma who spoke with me, or two people spoke with me and tried to explain things. So I went on and I found the documents, and then I've heard since what the HOA was going to talk about. And then I thought I would like to speak, since if you look on here, I don't know if I can magnify this a little.
And could you also give us the address of
Yes,
your
I'm going to
lot?
show you right now with my
Perfect.
pen. I am lot 33, so this concerns us here. So go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5821 Northwest 14th Court. I bought this when they were
Perfect.
building, and moved in the early '07.
Okay.
And with Blake Collinsworth. And so then the market hit in '08, and then they didn't finish building till people bought them. So it was me and person at lot 1, which is down here on this other side, that'll be affected. I'm going to show this blue part right here, are our concerns. Since we own the property, we can't have fences. And so I have the end, and one of the letters, like September 11th, changed it from 72 to 166. And they explained to me they were pulling all our townhome properties in, where we pay property taxes. We've lived there, we sweat it out. It's now 18 years I'm saving, and if I need a roof, and now 2 of us are doing driveways together, we have to pay for, it's a private street with the blue sign, so I learned about that quickly. We have to pay for our own snow removal. We pay for, and the space right here that they're coming into, we have a sprinkler system that we had to pay a lot to repair last week, because our lawns all back here were brown. That mice had gotten in there, they found out. And so it's right in the middle where they're thinking of coming through with the sidewalk. We maintain that, we pay for all that. And I thought, so I called and I said, well, who owns this then? Because Blake Collinsworth, I called, they said, no, he doesn't, he's with Tuscany Homes. Because he was a kind gentleman that let me have a basketball hoop, and the HOA said you couldn't, because people on the other south side by the golf course said it blocked their view, and they cut it down, and I raised my boys there. So all of us back here are property owners. And I just got another notice, it's in my bag, that notice property taxes are going up again. So I'm wondering then I heard that the board, they sent us like some points they sent in saying, well, we're opposed to that sidewalk coming into our Northwest 14th Court because we're already having so many issues with parking. And I've had where theft of my boys, my bicycles, where then they'd exit out West Webster here, I'm gonna point here, but now they could exit there. And if you go down here, you have Kawasaki. And we're also mourning that right here are all those beautiful trees that block Kawasaki, and they're a great company. They build streetcars, they send them to Chicago, New York. But we're going, no, all those trees. Because already over, if you go to the south side of the golf course, they built an INS building, then they took out all that green space, and they literally go back west to the railroad tracks. They took out all those trees where our kids would play, we'd walk our dogs, and I thought, no, you can't take all the trees out on this side too. So, but I understand if they're gonna have apartments, I'm trying to see how they looped us in and calling us property owners, that these are apartments, which are fine, but they don't treat the property the same. And if you're having the sidewalk here, I would argue that the people who are on the farthest east apartment, they're gonna park there and think they can walk right through to their apartment. And already, if you look at this lot 1, half of their property now is going to have that parking lot coming up to it, where our kids would play. So it's a common space. We have common spaces throughout.
One
that
more
we know
minute.
you can play. Oh, is time up? Oh.
One more minute.
And I have a question, like, who owns it? So I called, and they say, well, Blake Collinsworth doesn't, and we love him, and we love his auto program. I grew up in the area in Omaha next to the adoption place, children's home, and they said, oh, he doesn't. And so when I looked at that address the kind gentleman provided, it's like Resort something LLC, but yet they're calling it the West Highlands Townhomes, and we're the townhomes. And then in one of the letters, they said, well, there's 2 and they're family units, and we're just units. It's like, no, we raised our family, we own the property. We can have fences, so we all learn how to deal if you have dogs. But we're thinking if you're opening it up to 72, all these units, and a lot of students, I teach at UNL, I know or all people going to Kawasaki, we always have all that crazy traffic when the shifts change at Kawasaki. And I didn't know who I thought I'd ask you to talk to, that since on the other end of the golf course, they also built a trucking place. Suddenly, since this summer, we've had all these trucks barreling through and loud. And I need clarified if Northwest 13th is residential or not. Because our bedrooms are upstairs. They're 2 stories, and it's just so loud and pummeling. The biggest ones are from Crete. And I remember I went interviewed to be a career coach there out at Milford by Crete, and I passed it. I thought, oh, these are where all these trucks are coming from, So I need clarification on that sometime. But I was happy to see it's not Blake Collinsworth, but whoever the builder is, I would like to plea. I think you answered the HOA's questions about sewerage, and because we had ours checked out, we have to pay for all that as a private street, and it's taxes. But I like to say we don't need that sidewalk coming through. And how are we going to rectify this area right here that I'm circling? Sorry, it looks a mess now, but we are maintaining, we're paying for that, the lawn care, all that sprinkler system. If he said gated, it would be nice if there's an embankment and it were separated. Because if you look at that, all of this here is going to be a parking lot going down half of the property of, they call it Lot 1 to us. They're our neighbors, a home. He's in the trade business himself, and he recommended how to get my driveway done. So we're concerned, as the people who live back here, one father next to me, we raise our boys together, they still have a young one over at Friesdrum saying it's burden on the school system, da-da-da. People have a right to live where they want, but I just need clarified. That September 11th letter should not loop us in and say, include our homes with the apartments. Does that make sense?
Yes, and so your time is up on your testimony. Yeah, you're good. It's okay. So what we'll do is we'll ask the questions for you, and we'll get some responses
And
back for you.
who is the owner, though, if it's no longer Blake Collinsworth? He's no longer, it was Cameron, and now he's Tuscany. Who is that owner? It's like Resort something, and why are they calling it townhomes again when they're building apartments? They're not part of we're property owners.
We will get that official answer for you, okay?
And then, did you receive from the HOA they sent you? Oh, thank you. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions for this testimony? Okay, thank you. Are there any other testimony in neutral or opposition? Okay, we'll go with staff questions now. We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Campbell.
Emma, would the planning department be okay with removing that sidewalk?
So the sidewalk is very important in terms of connectivity. That is, sorry, let me grab, I had some stuff about it. It's very important when it comes to complete neighborhoods and complete streets. The presence of sidewalks and housing options, it helps connect people, it helps connect neighborhoods. It's an important connection when it comes to connecting to the rest of the neighborhood. Otherwise, that apartment area is really just left all on its own. Because if you...
Can I speak?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
Thank you, though. I appreciate you doing your testimony, but we'll have people talk to you now afterwards, okay? Thank you.
If you see, it would then just be connected through here, and then to get to the next neighborhood, you have to come all the way around here, cross all the way over here, over here. So and this is one use permit. It is all one area, and it is shown to future develop. This is all one, essentially. If we're talking a neighborhood, it is all one area. So this is a complete neighborhood. Complete neighborhood means multiple housing types, different levels of affordability. And so having the sidewalk there is part of that access and accessibility. And it is also part of complete streets, enhancing neighborhoods by adding safe and accessible connections to transit trails and sidewalks. And it also provides access to, from the existing homes to the trail, because it will provide them access to the trail through that sidewalk. And if here, let me grab this. If you can see all the solid red and then the hash marked red. The hash marked red is the trail, and the solid red is the sidewalks. So showing all the sidewalks, those are the connection areas, and the hash marked red is the trail. So those are the only connection point to the existing area is that sidewalk, and the hash marked red is that trail. And those are the connection points. And I would also like to point out that there are requirements when it comes to screening. So screening for multiple family dwellings approved by use permits, there are requirements in our design standards, Title 3, Chapter 3.5, Section 7.3. Screen shall be provided between the property line and all multifamily dwelling structures, garages, maintenance buildings, etc. They have to meet certain requirements. Garages, driveways, and other accessory buildings, parking lots have required screening as well. This will all come when it comes to building permits. These will be reviewed at the time of building permit. So there will be screening along here. And there is more than 15 feet. I know that I'm not trying to say that there will not be an impact on these neighbors. I'm not trying to negate that whatsoever. But there are going to be additional things beyond. It's not just going to be, now here's a parking lot. Again, not saying there's not an impact or even a negative one to neighbors, but there is going to be that there. And the sidewalk is an important part and is part of the comprehensive plan's desire to create those connections for people. Sorry, I went a little bit off topic, but.
No worries. Go ahead and continue.
Is there any other portion of that bike trail that's built at the present time besides what you're having along?
I think that's a question for Wade with Parks and Rec. Do you know? No, sorry, I'm asking Wade with Parks and Rec.
But you're doing what's good.
Wade, do you know?
Yeah, there's no other trail.
No other portion of the trail. It would be connecting with, I believe, with existing sidewalk. What they're doing is they're building out the full 10 feet.
Right.
So this is, I believe, a 5-foot sidewalk, which will in the future be built out to 10 feet potentially, or it will, the 10-foot trail will meld into the existing 5-foot sidewalk and remain 5 feet. I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, I don't have that answer.
Well, and so my point being that at this point in time, there's really nobody that could use that trail along there because it's just along the apartment property, period. They'd have to use the city sidewalk, which technically is wrong for any motorized or any bike or anything like that to be on a city sidewalk. You're supposed to be on the street. So at this point in time, that sidewalk seems a little superfluous to me.
So the waiver that they're asking doesn't have to do with the sidewalk that's connecting them to Northwest 14th Court.
I know.
Okay, so are we talking about the waiver now?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
No, they're not. The waiver's asking that they not build it until they go for their occupancy permit.
So that has nothing to do with their waiver.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused.
Well, I'm just saying that if we were to amend it to where they do not have to have that sidewalk connection to the townhouse area with the apartments, this amendment that they're asking for just asks that the sidewalk and pedestrian way be delayed until they go for their building it and then go for their occupancy permit. And that's when it would be in place rather than ahead of time.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any objections to that?
No, I discussed this earlier with Steve Henriksen, and when it comes to apartments, this is it's makes more sense when it comes to apartments. When it comes to single-family homes, having a pedestrian way easement between two single-family homes, you want it at the time of building permit or prior to building permit to make sure that it's there.
Yep.
But when it comes to apartments, it makes more sense at time of occupancy permit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emma, is there no other possible access to the future trail for these townhomes that are already there other than through that sidewalk that is proposed?
I don't know that question. That is not something that was discussed. I mean, I suppose they could discuss that amongst themselves.
But the reason for the main reason for the sidewalk, as I see it, is to allow the townhomes access to the trail.
The main reason for the sidewalk is to allow for connectivity for all residents, including the people who are going to live in the apartments. It is to allow connectivity for everybody, including people who will live there in the future and people who live in the townhomes. For everybody who wants to go to and from. I mean, maybe there's kids who live in the apartments or kids who live in the townhomes who want to meet with their friends, people who want to take a walk, people who have dogs who want to take their dogs around, or trick-or-treating. I mean, it's almost Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So just to clarify, without that sidewalk, there'd be no way to walk out of this apartment complex except on West Fletcher.
I mean, yeah, with a sidewalk, you can always, you can technically walk through the parking lot and through grass, I guess, but there would not be a sidewalk.
Go ahead.
I'm going to kind of switch. Since you have that GIS up, and I'm looking at it too, if you click just to show everyone in the audience that we can find out who the owners are of all of that land that she's referring to. So it's Highlands Townhomes LLC. Mm-hmm. Even the common space, if you can click also Highlands Townhomes LLC, also Highlands Townhomes LLC. I just wanted to answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments for staff? Questions?
I guess I have one final.
Yes.
Mention the trees in the outlot for the water, runoff. Do those have to be taken out? Do you know?
I do not know that question.
I can ask the applicant when they do.
Yeah, and that might be, if LTU is here, they might have an answer for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, applicant.
Bob Lewis for the owner and the developer. It is currently owned by,
Can you speak into the mic?
yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
it's currently owned by Highlands Townhomes LLC, which is Breck and Blake Collingsworth,
Okay.
both. And Breck is the one developing the lot at this time. I do want to make a clarification, and it comes up in the staff report. This is a zoned, and this is a lot. This is not an outlot. This is a buildable lot today.
Mm-hmm.
And the zoning report says we're going to develop the outlot.
Mm-hmm.
It's buildable today, and I think there's a clarification that needs to be made about that. As far as the sidewalk, since we're talking about the sidewalk, we'll leave that up to staff and others if they want that connection. I don't know that it benefits or doesn't benefit the apartments, but I do agree that they're cross-connectivity. If you look at the building standards across the city and what we've done in the past in development, that's been a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it at that. Trees. This came up in the park committee review. Discuss how many trees we're removing. Right now, the layout we show is about 6 trees. The reason we picked this area off-site, there's couple reasons. A, it allows us to develop more land and not use it as a detention cell. This area, after Rick and I looked at it, is a natural detention cell. We don't need to go in and create and dig a cell.
Okay.
All we're putting in is a dam about 4 foot tall, Rick, if I'm wrong, and a pipe to control the runoff as it would be pre-developed. So our intent with that with the outlot is to leave it as it is, except where we have to build the dam, and then we also have to provide access per the stormwater management code and ordinance to get down there. We'll probably go in and remove any dead or diseased trees, stuff laying in the bottom so they don't plug the pipe up. But other than that, it'll be natural. It's not, we're gonna leave the grass as it is. This is not part of the course today. It's been natural since that course opened in early 90s. Are there golf balls over there? Yes. Is there poison ivy over there? You can attest to that.
Go collect your golf balls, friends.
Yeah.
That's all I run. My boys eat golf balls every day.
Yeah. As far as the sidewalk goes out front along Fletcher Avenue, so what we've agreed to with staff, Parks Department, is there's a future trail to be built there at some point in time. We've agreed to build from the existing sidewalk to our driveway to the west, the 10-foot trail in its future location. So we're taking into account the future widening of Fletcher. So we're building it one time, not twice. And that's what we're showing. So if you look at the plan, there's a little area where it makes a connection. Rig in there.
Okay.
And so that's our plan. What takes place to the east of that on the existing sidewalk is outside our ability. And I don't know if the existing sidewalk would have to be tore out. We don't know. Yet to be determined. So that's what we're doing there. When it comes to the access, while we're talking about Fletcher Avenue, we met with the homeowners very, very early on this with the board, not the total homeowners association. So we went with the board, told them what we wanted to do. Hey, this has been shown to be a connected driveway back in 05 or 04, whenever this was originally developed. They asked us not to make that connection because of the traffic and the parking. Honestly, it's the parking up in the cul-de-sac. There's no room. There's cars on it all the time. So we went back and working with staff, determined that we could make it work on our site and get emergency services in and out of our site to their benefit without that connection. So that's what we did. We removed that connection at the request of the townhomes. Had we made the connection, we would have been part of that and we'd paid our dues. But so we are not part of their association because we don't have any connectivity. We will be connecting to the public sanitary sewer that sits in that cul-de-sac, and we will make that happen. That is a private road with a public access easement, so we have the ability to do that. We'll work with the board on the HOA on timing of all of those things and pavement replacement and all of that, if in fact we have to get into the pavement piece of it. But we do own right up to that private roadway today. That's owned by us. As far as, I think I've covered everything. If there's other questions, I'll just stop there.
Any other questions from commissioners? Just a couple quick questions then. On the sidewalk that connects to the current private drive, that piece of property that you own there, as you work with adjacent property owners, what are your plans on potentially with some of the things that they've already dealt with green space and that, the grass and irrigation system and that?
Yeah, when we talked to the homeowners, they did indicate to us at the time that they've been mowing, if you will, that area between those two lots where that future driveway was going. I don't remember, do you, Rick, if there was irrigation in there?
I believe there is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we can certainly work around in final design.
Yeah, basically what we indicated to the HOA was, whatever we disturb, we'll replace, whether it's the grass in through the construction process, or if we've got to move sprinklers and put them on our system, then that's what we'll do. We didn't get into a lot of detail of that at the time. We were pretty early on in the process when we were having those conversations with that group. But ultimately, anything on that will then now be part of the apartment complex and will be owned and maintained by them. And we'll work that out with the HOA to make sure that they're not sprinkling us or continue to mow it.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. And then any other comments on the screening that'll be in those areas on that side of the east side of the property?
I think as staff said, as you go through the final design, right now we're looking to get a site plan approval. We don't have final design done by any means. We'll meet all the requirements of that, and whatever that site plan ultimately looks like, you know, from location of parking lots or the amount of the parking we can do to meet the screening, we'll do that. I don't remember the topography there. This site, I can tell you, it slopes from east to west quite a bit, and it really drops off into that detention area, and that's one of the reasons we picked that spot. So the ability to berm, there is already a pretty good sized berm. If I can point it out, it's back in here. There's some trees. You can kind of see these trees here that protect the back of those houses already. When you stand on this site, you can't see the back of those houses because of the berm. They have a small detention cell in the back of those first 4 units as you come around the cul-de-sac to the west. And so they're protected. It's really probably the one or two that has the side yard setbacks that are going to be impacted the most. And again, we'll look at how we can do that to the best of our ability.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Rick?
So do I understand that the connection to the east, to the townhomes, you could take or give?
Yeah, the reality of it is we're not built on now, and it's not there. People are going to walk across the grass if they want to go between the two.
It's the city and the
frankly.
comp plan
Yeah,
that requires it.
correct.
Okay. And who will be responsible for snow removal on that?
The sidewalk ultimately shows up on our lot, therefore it'll be part of our snow removal with the other sidewalks on the development.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Motion?
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second, Edens?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Eber,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
And I would move that we approve comprehensive plan conformance 25009.
Second, Edens?
Okay, let's have our discussion. Who would like to start?
Are we discussing all of them?
I'm holding off on
Yeah.
making the other two amendments until, if I'm correct, we get to the use permit. And I think that's the correct spot.
We're good
Okay.
there, yep. Okay. So we'll discuss all of them?
Oh, we are discussing all of
Do
them?
you want to discuss all of them with your motion?
We can if you would like. The fact is, when we get to the use permit, I am going to agree with the developer to add their third amendment to construct the sidewalk and trail when they're building the units and getting their occupancy. That makes perfect sense, rather than being broken up while construction's going on and everything else. And then I am going to move and find out whether my fellow commissioners agree that at this point in time that we eliminate that connecting sidewalk. The townhomes don't really sense that they want it, and the apartments, I can't see that that's going to be that good a connectivity for them. They can go right out to the short bike trail that way, and as it develops further along, the homeowners association may decide they want to develop a connectivity. But at this point in time, I think with both sides either not having any desire for it or don't care one way or the other, that I think it should just be eliminated at this point.
Commissioner Gloria?
I agree with the commissioner that if the townhomes really don't want it and the apartment complex says, hey, we don't want it, just because the city says yes, there's no city services or grocery stores or shops or anything that sidewalk is connecting them to other than connecting the home and the apartment complex. I do think you'll end up with the trail through the grass sooner or later, and you might want to revisit putting a sidewalk back in there. But I think at this point, at this juncture, if neither party wants it, just to do something doesn't seem to have a point to me. So I would agree with him on removing the sidewalk, and everything else looks great to me. This has been a long-term plan coming. This is going to be an apartment complex. It's not that we're increasing a huge unit complex that wasn't expected.
Okay. Commissioner?
I might be in the minority, so I support having that connectivity, mostly because if these two neighborhoods, I like what Emma mentioned, you could have some gatherings in that space, and you could really combine the folks who live at the apartment complex with the folks at the HOA and create a really family-friendly neighborhood right here. And I think that by adding that sidewalk, it outwardly shows that you are welcome and we are welcome in your space, you're welcome in our space. And I agree with you, Gloria. I would rather have the sidewalk built than have a trail just going through the grass and then you just ruin grass that's being watered maybe expensively or whatever. So I agree with having the sidewalk as part of the plan.
Okay. Any other comments over here?
That's an interesting perspective to bring up because I remember sitting in an architecture class and the professor saying, you build sidewalks where people walk.
Yep.
And so if you want to know where to build a sidewalk, you look and you'll see this little trail of dust. Well, that's where people want to walk. That's that's where you should place it. And so, it does speak to being a little bit more proactive, but also just in terms of folks being able to, let's say you want to access that trail more easily, it might be nice to just, take that little connection so you can access the trail as opposed to having to go out and over and whatever. In the end, I think, to your point, it's going to be there anyway. And so should we be proactive? Should we respect people's autonomy in terms of deciding when that sidewalk comes in?
That's why I wanted to speak because I live
Nope.
there. I can tell
You
you.
cannot. Thank you, though.
Go the other way.
Thank you, though.
Steve Hendrickson, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. Sorry, I was going to jump up later when this motion would have been made, but if we can go to the viewer here, I think we can provide some additional context that hasn't yet been mentioned. First off, it reduces your trip length if you were happening to be heading down to the Highlands Pool into the property further south. If you were heading off anywhere to the park that's over by the school, taking the school route, etc. So it does shorten the route. But more significantly, one of the issues we would have is, let's say you're a person in this apartment building and you're wanting to walk east. Now we could start with somebody who's in a stroller, etc., and trying to have their kid in a stroller. If you do not have this sidewalk to head east to the other public sidewalk, and again, that's a private roadway, but it is a public sidewalk. There's a public access easement. If you do not have this sidewalk, you will actually have to head west all the way back this direction, then north, then back along the sidewalk trail over to Northwest 13th Street. You're significantly adding to the trip length. And so one of the reasons we have connectivity is also about trying to make connections and neighborliness, but also part of it too is just simply ADA routes that we do not significantly add to the trip for somebody who would be in a longer route. So I don't know if that had been brought out, that, you know, there's not another way that is shown to try to get to that. So I think that's the other piece of the information maybe we didn't make clear, is that without it, you significantly lengthen the trip of anyone who's trying to get to the east to other public facilities.
Thank you.
I had to say ADA. I mean, come on.
That's Gloria. Back at you.
Busted.
I'm a runner, I live there, and there's no
Nope,
official
nope.
planning.
Public hearing's closed.
No more, we're not going to have any more conversation with the public. We appreciate, though, everyone being here. Any other commissioners with a question or a comment at this point? Commissioner Campbell.
Just from our own experience, we have apartments and single-family homes within our own development. And there's very, very low interconnectivity between the two. We have Friday afternoon clubs once a month where it's at people's homes and apartments, and it's always the homes. And it's the people that own the homes that get together. The apartment people don't participate in those events. And so I don't anticipate the people occupying these apartments as being long-term residents, such as the townhome owners would be, as Hewitt. So I will still make the amendment to see what others think.
Okay. Commissioner Rich. Oh, sorry.
I still see the main benefit of the sidewalk to the people in the townhome to access the future trail when it comes in, not the other way around. But there will be some benefit from the apartment people that do want to travel east. I think, especially with the connectivity and with the comp plan, saying it should be there, I think I will vote that the sidewalk does go in, but I would favor the amendment number 3, that it goes in when it's appropriate.
Commissioner Ebert.
I would support the sidewalk connection to that little cul-de-sac there. Just all the reasons Steve indicated. I think we're maybe underestimating how much longer that would add to the walk to go out and around. I've lived out there. I know what that area is like. And like to the aquatic center, again, you're going to be able to just go straight through that townhome development. Otherwise, you're out and around on kind of it's a nice sidewalk, but it's kind of a busy street. So with kids crossing, to me, it makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. And for myself, I'll be supporting having the sidewalk, and I do like the transition for that ownership group to start maintaining that area. And so that seems like appropriate with sidewalk maintenance and snow removal in that aspect. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call, yes, please.
Abby Luttrell, Law Department. Just process-wise, I want to make
Yes.
sure we're all on the same page. So I believe the motion right now is for the comprehensive plan amendment. So we'll vote on that first. And then this is, none of this is final action. It's all just recommendation to City Council. So there's not really anything to amend. So I would suggest that if you intend to make a motion, for example, about the sidewalks, and that's not at the time of the installation of the sidewalks, that's not really a waiver either. So for example, the motion for that would be motion to recommend approval of the use permit as presented in the staff report, with the exception that sidewalks may be installed at the time of occupancy permit, something like that. Just, it won't be a motion to amend because you don't have anything to amend.
Okay,
Is that
perfect.
clear?
Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, we got it. Thank you, though, for clarifying. Okay, we are on one motion, as was mentioned. Does anybody need that reread? Okay, Shelley.
Campbell.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Ebert.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
And I would move we approve change of zone 25013.
Second, Edens.
Is there any other comments before we move on? Okay, Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
And I would move that we approve use permit 04004A with the notation of recommending that the site-specific sidewalk and trail be built with occupancy. And having heard by other commissioners, I'll leave out the removal of the sidewalk.
Second, Edens.
Is there any other comments before we move on? Okay, Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next item, please.
Item 4.2A, annexation 25006, to annex approximately 37.07 acres on property generally located at Northwest 56th Street and West Holdridge Street, associated with item 4.2B, change of zone 25020, to change the zone from AG agricultural to R3 residential for approximately 37.07 acres on property generally located at Northwest 56th Street and West Holdridge Street. And item 4.2C, preliminary plat 25001, to plat 128 single-family lots as part of Westview Ridge, a proposed residential subdivision on property also generally located at Northwest 56th Street and West Holdridge Street. And this is final action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
There are none.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of the site to be disclosed?
There are none.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jacob Schlange, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. I have 3 items here. I will focus first on the annexation and the change of zone, and then I'll go into more detail on the preliminary plat. So this is a request for annexation and change of zone for property located northwest of West Holdridge and Northwest 56th Street. It's approximately 37 acres, and the annexation does include the adjacent right-of-way along West Holdridge Street. The proposed change of zone is from AG agricultural to R3 residential, and as was noted, this is associated with a preliminary plat, so I'll go into a little bit more detail about that in a moment. So this annexation and change of zone will continue to facilitate new residential development at urban densities that are contiguous with the existing city limits of Lincoln. The site does have access to all public utilities, and it is designated for urban density residential on the future land use map. There are existing municipal services, including water and sanitary sewer, that are adjacent to the north and to the east in the adjacent neighborhoods that could be extended to this property. And the proposed R3 zoning for future residential lots is compatible with the adjacent neighborhoods, which are also zoned R3, and also include single-family homes as is proposed with this residential development. I will note that as part of the annexation agreement, the developer will agree to pave West Holdridge Road from Northwest 56th Street to the western edge of the property, but the details of that have yet to be concluded. I'll tell you a little bit more now about the preliminary plat, which is proposing 128 single-family homes, and as I said, we'll have R3 zoning. This would allow that single-family attached dwellings could be built in the future, provided that they meet the minimum lot area requirements of the R3 zoning. This was originally submitted as a community unit plan, so in case there's any confusion, it does say on the site plan community unit plan, but after that initial submission, the applicant has revised the application to request a preliminary plat. The CUP was deemed unnecessary because all of the proposed dwellings are single-family residences, so the CUP's ability to facilitate different kinds of housing styles wasn't necessary in this location. So as a result, one of the conditions of approval that you'll note is that anywhere that it says CUP, that's being changed to preliminary plat. So there are 2 waivers associated with the preliminary plat. One is to allow sanitary sewer to run opposite to the street grades. As the applicant stated in their application, this waiver is needed due to the topography of the site. There's a large crest near the center of the property, and so the waiver would allow for the developer to provide gravity sewer service to the entire site. This is a common waiver for sites with steep topography, and the application for this waiver was recommended for approval by LTU Wastewater. The other waiver is to reduce the centerline radius of the C1 curve to a radius of 100 feet as opposed to the 150 that's required by the access management policy. The applicant is requesting this waiver to minimize the removal of trees in the area of the subdivision and maximize the green space south of this radius to better fully accommodate the maximum amount of water quality and detention capacity that must be contained in Outlot C, which I believe is this outlot here. This waiver is recommended for approval only if LTU reviews and approves the request at the time of final approved plan. The applicant has not yet submitted the grading and drainage plans, so that will be required by LTU prior to approval of the final approved plan. And then the one other thing that I wanted to note is that condition 2.1.13 was so this condition was asking for an eastbound left turn lane here at the intersection of West Holdridge and Northwest 56th Street. The applicant was not in agreement on this as of this morning and is still in conversations with LTU. So this has already been updated in the resolution that the new condition, the new condition is worded to say, add an eastbound left turn lane on West Holdridge and Northwest 58th Street unless a deviation or alternate design is approved by the City of Lincoln. So just allowing that there may be some agreement that is reached in the next couple of weeks that does not require the eastbound turn lane as it was initially requested in the review. So that should be what's listed in your resolution, but I wanted to note that difference from what was included in the staff report. And that's all I have here. I can answer any questions that you have.
Okay, questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Okay, testimony from the applicant.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mike Eckert with Civil Design Group, 8535 Executive Woods Drive, Suite 200 here in Lincoln. I don't have much to say following up Jacob. We enjoy that when we're at the commission. They get to do the hard work of presenting, and we get to stand up and say we either agree or disagree. And so, yeah, this is a pretty straightforward. In fact, as he mentioned, we converted it back to a prelim plat because we're meeting the minimum lot sizes. It's either going to be single family or attached, townhome lots. And so it's actually kind of rare to have a preliminary plat. In fact, I think it's the first preliminary plat in 2025 here as of September. So yeah, a couple waivers that are pretty minor. We're working that out with LTU, and we're in continued discussions on what is a good design for Holdridge Street based on the fact that a lot of the land to the west of here is in a different drainage basin and won't develop probably for decades. And so we're talking about the need for the left-hand turn lane coming from the west and the need for it. So we'll get that ironed out, I think, by the time we get to council. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Commissioner Campbell.
Just by the preliminary plat layout, all the present buildings are gone.
They will be, Dick. Our client is scheduled to close on that towards the end of the month. And so they're working on that, getting the demolition permits or to move them off-site, including the house.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Now we'll be looking for testimony in support. Testimony in a neutral capacity. Testimony in opposition. Okay, seeing none, staff questions. Okay, commissioners, I think we're good. Thank you, Jacob. Applicant, any other things you'd like to talk about? Okay, we'll
I
look
would,
for a motion.
I would move to close the public hearing. Campbell?
Second, Edens?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Veit,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
And I would move that we approve annexation 25006.
Second, Edens?
Any discussion? I think we have a pretty cut and dried opportunity here.
It's nice to see there's not a ton of waivers on something that comes through like this. So.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner. Shelley, let's call the vote on that.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Veit,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
And I would move that we approve change of zone 25020.
Second, Edens?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Veit,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
And I would move that we approve preliminary plat 25001.
Second, Edens?
Okay, Shelley?
Campbell,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Veit,
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
Okay,
See
Shelley,
you,
we'll
Mike.
go ahead and move to our special permit.
Next item is item 4.3, special permit 25028 for Stillwater's Recovery LLC to allow for a residential healthcare facility for up to 44 residents on property generally located at 12788 West Roca Road, and this is final action. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
There are none.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of the site to be disclosed?
There are none. George?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. George Wesselhoff, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. The location for this proposed special permit is southwestern Lancaster County. We're near the intersection of Southwest 128th Street and West Roca Road, very near the Crete jurisdiction for zoning. And so this request, and I'll show the site plan here next. So this request is for a residential healthcare facility under the Lancaster County zoning regulations on 31.45 acres. The zoning is AG agricultural. The request is for up to 44 residents with 20 employees. This would be for a residential treatment program for substance abuse or a substance use disorder. The facility would be for individual voluntary stay, not a mandatory stay facility. There is an existing home on the property that will be remodeled into office, cafeteria, and group fitness use for the residents and staff. And then there will be 4 modular structures that will be brought in to the south or southwest of the existing home. These structures will provide housing for the residents. They are designed so they can be removed from the site if the residential healthcare use would ever cease and another use would locate on the property. So the Lancaster County zoning regulations provides that healthcare facilities residential are allowed in AG zoning, and there's a density requirement of 1 person per 5,000 square feet of lot area. With the lot area of 31.45 acres, the regulations would allow up to 273 individuals. The request by the applicant is for 44 residents, so about 16% of the maximum density allowed. As far as parking, the requirements call for 25 total parking spaces. 28 parking spaces will be provided. I would note that the regulations include a reference to 1 space per every 4 residents. That's the regulation reference. The applicant can confirm that the residents will not have cars. So they're really just providing parking based on the zoning regulations, not that the residents will be driving or having cars on site. There was a prior special permit on this property, special permit 15064, an application nearly 10 years ago now, which was denied. That was for a different special permit type. That was a special permit for expanded home occupation for an event center. There was opposition to that. Ultimately, it was denied at the county board. I just would note that in case that's brought up in the testimony. The use will not have a significant traffic impact on the neighbors. There's an existing driveway off West Roca Road, which is in the southwest part of the property. And that West Roca Road is Highway 33, which is a paved state highway, and that will be the access. As far as noise effects, the primary uses will be inside. There may be some incidental outside activities, but primarily the use will be inside the facilities. And the nearest homes are approximately 800 feet away from the location of the house and the proposed modular structures. With that, I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you, George.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Derek Zimmerman. I'm an attorney with the Baylor Ebden Law Firm, 1248 O Street here in Lincoln. Here on behalf of Stillwater's, the applicant for the proposed special permit. And just like to start out by thanking planning staff for their work on this. And I, specifically George, we did have a neighborhood meeting. It was at night, and he was there the whole time. I consider that above and beyond. I mean, he was there with us to answer questions, and we do appreciate that. And as stated by George and through the planning staff report, this project meets all the requirements. We're not asking for any waivers. It is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. Commissioner Edens talked about I was nice not to see something with a lot of waivers on the prior permit. Well, how often are you seeing something where you're talking about an application where we're talking about 16% of allowable density in front of you? That's very light in comparison with what is otherwise permitted. Limited parking. I can confirm the residents will not be bringing cars. There's a process which operations can describe after me, but they will not have vehicles on site. So the parking stalls really are just a meter requirement that is in place, which we're fine with. The location of the improvements, a lot of times we talk about buffers and when it's already there, it's on the southwestern portion of the property. When you're talking about everything to the east on a 30-acre property, pretty significant span. We do appreciate the planning department's recommendation of approval. We appreciate the discussions that we've had. We understand the property cannot be operational until the requirements are met. The standard conditions that are here, we agree with. Talking about wastewater and whatnot, we understand that's part of the process. Also cannot be operational until there's state licensure requirements which need to take place. So we understand that those special permit requirements or conditions, we're fine with all of those. We agree with them. And we don't anticipate any issues, but we understand that's part of it. And so I'm going to be introducing Matt Renefelt, who's the owner, developer, his vision, and then also Ascension Recovery Services that Morgan and Chris, all three of them have been great to work with. But before I do that, are there any questions relating to the special permit that I can answer?
Commissioners? No, we're good.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Matt Rennerfeld. I live at 11821 Grayhawk Circle, Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln's my home. Just a quick bit of background and we'll get into it here. I co-founded Alpha Brewing Operations in 2014. We were a manufacturer and supplier of canning and brewing equipment. It was very rewarding to build a company and pour our values into creating the culture. We outfitted hundreds of turnkey breweries on 6 continents. Grew to 30 employees and $24 million in annual revenue at our peak. I was able to see a saturation point on the horizon, so I decided to sell the company and did so in 2022. So what made me decide to pursue Stillwater's Recovery Sanctuary as my next passion and purpose? Well, in 2 words, pain and providence. I'm going to tell you a tale of 2 Andrews. The first was my cousin Drew. We were like brothers. Man, did we party together. And the party never stopped for Drew, and I nearly stayed too long myself. I tried to get Drew into treatment, and a few years ago, Drew was found in his hotel room, and I miss him. Andrew number 2 worked at Alpha and was struggling. I offered Andrew the same help that I offered Drew. He needed financial help, so I covered his cost of treatment and made it clear that it was not alone, just to concentrate on getting well. Seeing his surrender and relief and hope lit a spark in me. Andrew's still sober today, and with every occasional update on how he was doing, it was just like striking a flint in me. I wanted to help others. The Providence part is this property. I found it on Airbnb about 8 years ago, and we had our annual company retreat there that year. Fast forward to last summer. I'm driving by for the first time since then, and I see the for sale sign out front on the highway, and the fire started. And the sellers, the Martin family, were very supportive of my vision for the property. Their family bears the scars of addiction, and although their struggle had a happy ending. This vision of Still Waters is a 2-part vision. The first part is the recovery sanctuary, a beautiful setting in nature with lots of space, a beautiful lake, and existing buildings that seemed really designed for the purpose. What a place to be able to nurture the clinical side of recovery, not with an institutional setting, but with a special tranquil place to heal. I plan to protect and preserve and further beautify the property, planting dozens of trees and landscaping and establishing a garden. We will source as much of our food and supplies as possible from local growers and merchants to support our community. We're going to have an amazing fitness center, and we'll bring in instructors in a variety of disciplines. We'll utilize the existing indoor pool for therapy. I want to create strong partnerships with local organizations to bring life skills opportunities to Still Waters, like cooking classes, finances, introduction to trades and other vocational opportunities, job fairs, and I want to teach folks how to fish. So we want to partner with Doane University, SCC, and UNL to offer two-way educational opportunities to their students and our guests. We want to offer scholarships both to guests and university students, which brings me to the second part of my vision. Or our vision. I plan to start a nonprofit organization whose main purpose is to financially support our guests after their stay at Still Waters or other treatment centers, including things like outpatient care, sober living housing, or family needs. We mentioned the scholarships. We want to funnel proceeds from Still Waters into this entity and raise outside funds, which are already being pledged. Residential treatment is essential. But it's only the beginning of the recovery journey. More must be done to save lives and impact generations. So my main focus will be to grow these initiatives to establish the culture and uphold the standard through outreach, through partnerships, through marketing, and through development. Sort of my wheelhouse. But I knew that I needed to find an operational partner that would manage, that would build the programming and manage the clinical operation day to day. And in my search, I found that there are two main, how am I on time? Okay. So in my search, I found that there are two main types of owners and operators in this space. And I'll use an analogy that came sort of strangely to me yesterday. Here's what I found. Why wasps are less effective pollinators than bees. Just bear with me. Lack of pollen-trapping hairs. Unlike the fuzzy bodies of bees, most wasps have smooth bodies and lack the branched pollen-trapping hairs that help bees collect large amounts of pollen. Nectar feeding behavior. Many wasps are nectar thieves, piercing the base of the flowers to access nectar without coming into contact with the reproductive parts of the plant. I've never wanted to be hairier in my life. You've never heard the term worker wasp or busy wasp. I was moved so much by this that I think the nonprofit will be named after the honeybee in some way, or the pollinators in some way, with a bee mascot. I strive to be a bee, not a wasp. A hardworking, heavy-lifting pollinator. These people are flowers. They deserve to grow in this beautiful place, and I need to get busy. I'd like to introduce you to my chosen partner that I found to manage the operation. I encountered a few wasps in that search, but I'm very happy to say that Ascension Recovery Services, I found bees. Thank you all. Any questions?
Yes, Commissioner.
Asked why the number 44.
It's a part of that is a ratio of staff to guests, and so we're looking at, it's a kind of a 12-to-1 ratio that'll be answered further by Ascension Recovery Services, and so we want to offer medical detoxification services as well, and so that modular structure can't hold the 12, it can't house the 12 in one structure, because we got to have room for nursing and staff. It's a little bit different demand there. So the detox beds number is a little bit lower in that modular housing unit. By the way, you hear modular housing, and sometimes you think, you know, is that mobile home? These are going to be beautiful structures that really blend into the environment and are aesthetically pleasing. And then the other 3 modular structures are 12 beds each, and so that's that staffing ratio that kind of comes into play. And so the 36 plus the 8 is where we came to the 44.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today. My name is Chris Watrous, and I'm the Client Services Director with Ascension Recovery Services. Our address is at 5278 Major Boulevard in Orlando, Florida. I'm also a therapist, substance use disorder counselor, and clinical supervisor with over 25 years experience in direct practice. Ascension has partnered with Matt Rennerfelt to develop the Stillwaters Recovery Sanctuary over the next 12 to 14 months, and then once open, we will operate the facility. Ascension Recovery Services is the country's leading expert for developing and operating quality, evidence-based substance use disorder treatment programs. We've developed programs in 35 states and currently operate residential treatment programs like Stillwaters in Iowa, Indiana, New Hampshire, and Oklahoma. What sets us apart is that we also own and operate several facilities in West Virginia where we were founded. A large portion of our employees are in long-term recovery from substance use disorder with lived experience, including our CEO and founder, Doug Leach. Ascension was developed in 2015 as a result of the lack of treatment options in his home community of rural West Virginia. Since then, our mission has been to expand access to comprehensive, fully integrated behavioral health care to communities and populations that are underserved and where people in need are not accessing care. Our focus is to always help the region's most vulnerable populations who are struggling with substance use disorder, regardless of insurance type or ability to pay. We use an individualized, person-centered approach while engaging with collaborative community partners to ensure the full continuum of care to assist individuals to engage in a healthy and purposeful and fulfilling life. Oftentimes when folks hear the word addiction or substance use disorder treatment, unfortunately, they automatically think the worst thoughts. The reality is these are oftentimes individuals that are in our schools, our churches, and throughout our community that we are often unaware of as we intersect with them in our daily lives. Or they're a friend or family member or loved one that is quietly struggling. These are the individuals that Stillwaters seeks to treat. Matt had mentioned some of the community impact that we're very excited about. We will be expanding much needed access to services to the region. Currently, there are no residential treatment options in Crete and very few in southeast Nebraska compared to the overall need. Stillwaters will be set apart from other residential treatment programs in that it will be a spacious campus and unique natural beauty with amenities. This will be a high-end treatment center where all will have access, including those regardless of ability to pay. We're going to create a number of new jobs for the local community. Matt mentioned as far as being able to source food from local food vendors and producers and being able to create symbiotic partnerships with local businesses, including Doane University, UNL, and being able to create two-way educational opportunities, job opportunities, scholarships, grants, and much more. And then Stillwater's residents and staff will be volunteering tremendous hours within the community an effort each year. Projected timeline, we're looking at the renovation completion around summer of 2026 and an anticipated opening in fall of 2026. With Ascension's mission and Matt's vision, we're very excited to be a part of developing and operating Stillwaters Recovery Sanctuary. And with that, if there's any questions, if not, I'll hand it over to my partner, Morgan.
Yes, Commissioner Campbell? just work our way
Oh,
around.
what is with your other facilities around the country? What's the recidivism rate?
In terms of,
Those that come to the program and then just leave.
that's a hard statistic to look at because unfortunately, like any other chronic diseases, relapse happens. Those that stick with treatment and participate with treatment, if I remember correctly, like very similar studies, those that are in addiction treatment, very similar to other chronic disease like diabetes, heart disease, it's around 50%.
Around
50%.
50%. And what has your experience been with patient outbursts and needing to be assisted or restrained in some way because of their hurting of staff or other patients?
Well, in this type of facility, as far as restraints, we don't do restraints. We don't put hands on, and there's been no need. In any of our facilities do we need to put hands on any clients. You know, that can be handled with the staff members that we train in de-escalation. And Morgan will talk a little bit about it here in a second.
Right.
The patient population that we're treating is not what we oftentimes envision, the acute medical or the acute psychiatric or even the very acute addiction that are in very, very severe withdrawal that need a more structured setting like a hospital setting. The folks that we are seeking to treat are voluntarily. They've been screened by professionals, and we've got professionals there 24/7 that are intervening. And so there's no need to restrain or put hands on.
Okay, thank you.
I think you answered one of mine. These will be staffed 24/7?
It will be, yes.
Okay.
Awake staff.
Thank you. And then my second question is, how do they come to your program in particular? Is this in collaboration with parole? How do you see the clients coming to your facility? How do they choose you? How does that happen?
All of the above. It's getting out there in the community and being able to do business development and letting them know that we're here. So we're working with other community providers, the medical centers, letting them know that we're here and developing that close relationship with them. And yeah, it's just really getting our work out there and working with the medical and the behavioral health community here in Nebraska. And then once they've identified, being able to contact us and being able to screen and see if they're an appropriate fit for services. Did that answer your question?
You skipped over parole. Do you plan on taking people that have been recommended for a sober living environment through parole?
It's not uncommon that folks are involved with the criminal justice system and participating, and so that's not uncommon. So yes, we would be working closely with the judicial system.
So, yeah. So to clarify, for folks who may or may not be familiar with the recovery, you're talking about a Betty Ford, as opposed to a Betty Ford kind of center where we're talking about private pay.
We're talking all payer mix, so it would be private pay, it would be commercial insurance as well as Medicaid.
Right, but it would be covered, so it would either be covered via insurance or via private pay.
Correct, or scholarships for some that might not be uninsured or inability to pay.
So that's one thing. In terms of your staff, you're going to have 24/7 staff. Since this is medical, you're going to have licensed professionals that are going to be dealing with people, so not counselors, but people with letters after their names. And so you will have medical and psychological and psychiatric access as well for
Absolutely.
substance abuse disorder, which is technically ADA. So I just want to, again, kind of reiterate in terms of the stipulations here, you will be partnering with healthcare facilities, for example, Bryan Health, a hospital, a private doctor who would make referrals to the recovery center, for example.
That's correct, as well as family members that might be seeking treatment. We want to get out there to let folks know oftentimes accessibility and that we're here, so it could be directly from family too as well.
And just so people know, 50% recovery is kind of the industry standard. It is the expectation. For those of us who have worked within the industry, you're typically going to see 2, 3, maybe even 4 stints through rehab before it takes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner White?
Yeah.
you briefly mentioned state licensure, so I was just curious what you have to go through to get a state license.
Lots of stuff.
Okay, and who provides it?
And Morgan's got some of the details on that.
Okay,
I believe
that's
it's the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. And licensure, there's a whole bunch of steps that we'll go through. I could get up here.
No, I don't need that. I mean, yeah, okay. So then the Nebraska Health and Human Services provides that license. Okay.
And Morgan will talk about it too. We'll also be accredited by the Joint Commission, which is really the gold standard of accreditation for the facility too.
Great.
So
I'm welcome to hear that.
Okay, more questions, Commissioner? Okay.
And this may be a question for legal, but we've recently, and for many incidences, dealt with the Oxford House programs, and they are protected as addicts, and to a large extent our hands are tied whether we agree that this is a good place or not, that we cannot deny fair housing. And your attorney mentioned that these are residents. How do you consider these? You clients, patients, residents?
you know, that term changes every couple years in the industry, and it depends on if you're talking to a medical person or a clinical person, whether they call them a patient, a client, a guest, a visitor, an individual, you know, so it's all in our language and how we use. They would be residents at the facility. Oftentimes we use guests because it's a more welcoming term, and is less, I don't know, sterile, that's not the right word, but to answer your question in terms of the Oxford houses, there's oftentimes a continuum of care for folks that come in. They might have some withdrawal management services when they're coming off of substances. Then they will typically go into a 28-day residential program. Upon completion of the 28-day residential program, they may return to their home, or they may need something like sober living, where it's a recovery environment, and the sober living may last for a number of months. Up to a year, and then some transition to the Oxford House or into intensive outpatient services. So that Oxford House is a little bit stepped down in that continuum of care, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I guess. Have you run into any instances in other states with other facilities where you were denied but had to litigate to allow, because these people are considered addicts and protected class?
Morgan has more experience, I know, with some of the other projects. She may be able to speak to that.
And introduce yourself and address, please.
Yep, absolutely.
Hello, I am Morgan Henson, Senior Director at Ascension Recovery Services, address 5728 Major Boulevard, Suite 301, and that's in Orlando, Florida. So, good afternoon, and thank you. Do you want me just to get right to
those questions?
The
Perfect.
question, and again, we were on kind of the Oxford House. Just tell me.
Very different.
Well, I understand it's very different, and I like your reference to the Betty Ford Clinic. I mean, this is more upscale, and but there we have. Well, the city was once sued because they denied an Oxford House, and then it went under litigation, and the Oxford House won. And in the meantime, we've had many other applications where we basically have to say it's okay. I wonder if you are protected in that manner.
Yes, we are. In my experience, I have stood in front of a lot of commissioners and public hearings through the work that I do. I've been with Ascension for 8 years. And the most notable public hearing I remember was up in Vermont. We were trying to open up a very similar program, and we had a group of townhome owners that they were their second homes, and they did not want that near their property, and so we did have to go, and kind of fight for the ADA side of things, because it was their comments were discriminatory it wasn't anything about the facts that we presented. It was more of, you know, their testimony of kind of how we got there. So.
Okay. Commissioner, you had the question on the things that they were going to go through licensure?
Oh, yeah, licensure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, so licensure, you know, that is something that we 100% have to get, and we will get. So we'll be licensed under the, you know, Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, and we will seek accreditation through the Joint Commission. Do you want me to kind of just, I wanted to come up and just kind of walk through what like the day-to-day would look like and more about our services so we could really, I could paint a better picture of what it looks like, because oftentimes, you know, the words substance use disorder and mental health, they like to be combined and they're very separate. And so I want to make that clear. So, you know, for Stillwater's Recovery Sanctuary, individuals, you know, coming through, they are thoroughly screened before they even come onto the property. So we do that, you know, we'll direct them to call into our admissions center. That's where they'll do an over-the-phone screening assessment. Sometimes, you know, those folks are sitting in the emergency departments. They're sitting with mom and dad, a loved one, wherever, and, you know, we're connecting with them and kind of getting a full background of what's going on with them. Is Stillwater's the right place for them, or is there somewhere else that would better fit their needs? Once they are accepted into treatment, most of our guests will generally start in a short-term 3 to 5 day program to really help manage any mild or moderate withdrawal symptoms. You know, as you guys know, there are several substances that are withdrawal symptoms, so we want to make sure that people, you know, are taken care of there and comfortable so they can start their path to recovery. The program, which we've talked about, is monitored 24/7, and that would be with credentialed staff such as registered nurses, LPNs, nurse practitioners, medical doctors, and so on. Once completed, individuals, once they complete their short-term, 3 to 5 day stay, if needed, to help manage their withdrawal symptoms, they will then transfer to the residential side of the program, which generally lasts about 28 days. Insurance tells us that, not us. So we that's how long that they stay with us for. And then throughout their their week, they are very busy and staying engaged with structured activities. And that's really from the time that they wake up to the time that they go to bed. You know, we don't want folks just waking up and kind of going through the motions every day. We want to, instill healthy lifestyle changes. And so we really, really encourage that throughout our programming. Some of the day-to-day services that will be provided include comprehensive assessments to really get a full background on each of the patients, walking into the facility, individualized treatment planning, because we know it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Everyone, requires something different to get on the path to recovery. Individual and group counseling, family therapy, that is a huge part of our program. Addiction is a family disease, and we treat that as such, whenever we're building out our program models. Equine therapy, which I would like to note that would be something that's off-site. We're still kind of exploring that option, but it is something that we do with our other treatment centers. We'll find, folks in the community that offer programs like that, and we will work with them. Aquatic therapy, case management and peer support services, life skills activities, have guest speakers come in and share their experience, strength, and hope. And then, of course, fun activities, because that's, also what it's about, learning to live life again. So as a residential treatment environment designed to serve as a recovery sanctuary, our guests will be they'll be very busy throughout the day. However, evenings, I do want to mention, they are very quiet. A lot of our programming, will end right before dinner time. And so in the evenings, they're usually hanging out by the fire. Maybe there's a guest speaker that's coming in, movie night, you name it. And of course, whenever weather permits, we will definitely want to enjoy that beautiful lake and do things such as kayak, paddleboard, and fish. I know George mentioned, and so did Derek, we did have a neighbor meeting last week. And, again, with my time here at Ascension, I've also sat through many of those, and the concerns are often the same. no matter where I go. And so I just want to kind of bring up some of those concerns and really how we combat them. One of the concerns that were brought up were staffing shortages. How do we deal with that? And how do we make sure that we're providing, the level of care or quality of care that we need to? And so, one of those things that we look at is, like, we do recognize that there are challenges across all of the healthcare industry. But from, our reputation, our experience in the behavioral health industry, we have built an extremely strong recruiting pipeline, including partnerships with local universities, training programs, and we also offer competitive pay and career development opportunities. In our staffing ratios, they are either always, maintained or above to ensure safe, consistent, and high quality care. Another big concern is community safety that is always brought up, and understandably, I get it. And I do want to just point out that this facility, again, will not provide that acute medical, mental health, or even those severe acute detox services, which that significantly reduces, a lot of that considered risk. The program is highly structured, highly supervised, and designed to support individuals in their recovery process. Staff are trained in de-escalation, crisis prevention, and there are security measures such as controlled access, visitor protocols, 24/7 staffing, just to make sure that, or to ensure the safety of both clients and the surrounding community. And the last thing here, our commitment to the community. We're dedicated to creating a safe, respectful, tranquil, and healing environment. As a person in long-term recovery myself, a program like Stillwater's Recovery saved my life and allowed me to be here today. So I truly, wholeheartedly believe that this program will, really help to strengthen the community. We will, we want to partner with as many people that want to be a part of this cause, and I really, really believe that it will help rebuild individuals and families' lives in the process. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner?
Thank you. You clarified a lot of things that were on my mind. And this is something, it reminds me of any health-related thing. It's so far removed to you until it happens to yourself or it happens to a loved one or a friend. So I appreciate what you do. Back to that safety, you touched on a little bit of it, but there was written testimony that we receive in our emails that someone mentioned if someone does have to call 911, okay? Do you have any idea what service? I mean, you are technically in Lincoln, Lancaster County. Do you know where the nearest police station would be? How long that would take for you all to get a call or get a response?
Do you have that answer? Are you
no,
asking
I
me?
don't.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know?
Please step up.
I think that probably needs a little bit more research.
Okay.
To be honest,
Okay.
The closest law enforcement station is about 2 to 2.5 miles, and that's in Crete. Now it's a different county.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a different county. So now I have heard of special relationships being built in these sorts of situations where it's not just kind of your standard. You respond, we don't.
Right.
And so I think we'll certainly be working on that sort of relationship if it's possible.
Yeah.
But obviously we are sort of on the outskirts of Lancaster, right? And so as far as response time,
Yeah.
not sure.
And I'm more asking out of, concern for staff or even a fire. I mean, yeah, I would want all those individuals to be safe. So I just hope that you can maybe figure out that relationship so you have the best response time necessary for everyone in the house to be safe.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Prior to us heading on to the next testimony phase, do we need a break, commissioners, or is everybody doing okay? Okay? Good? Okay.
Thank you for asking them.
No worries, no worries. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on with testimony and support. Testimony in a neutral capacity. Testimony in opposition. One at a time, thank you. And state your name and your address, please.
I'm Jan Fisher. My address is 12401 Bob White Trail, Crete, Nebraska, 68333.
Thank you.
And I do have, who's the reporter?
Clerk is-
I have an
Shelley?
updated, we're the group that submitted the letter.
Yep.
And I have an updated just signature page.
Oh, okay.
Just people kept emailing me and wanted to be added, but I had already submitted it. And then I also have a document from the DHHS about the number of facilities like this and the number of beds in Lancaster County.
Thank you.
I do have a map. This is the one that we were sent with the.
It takes it a little while to come on.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this shows the outline of the property. Most of the people who put together the letter are in this neighborhood. It's called Lakeside Estates, but there's some other area residents that wrote the letter, and the letter basically compiled people's concerns. And I mean, I don't know if everyone's read the letter. I was just going to highlight a few things, and if anyone had some questions. So we had approximately, 40 or so residents join in that letter, and that was just kind of in the last week or so that we were able to get information out and hear back from people. Anyway, but there was some concerns about this facility, and it is a healthcare facility. It's not housing. These are patients. And I think that's an important distinction to make. And they come there addicted to drugs. This isn't an Oxford house where people have already gone through treatment. This is not a sober living home. It's not, I don't know what they call a halfway house or whatever, set in a community where people are now living that life. And, and just to say, we're not vindictive and uncompassionate people. We just have some concerns about this, being so close in proximity and the seeming lack of safety and security. And, as the folks from Ascension had talked about, it is hands off, when people enter. They do a 3 to 5 day detox. And then I guess there's a choice to stay for the 28-day program. And then they leave. I mean, they're not coming here to live. They're not changing their home address. This is healthcare, and they're patients. So I just want that to be clear. The number of patients, there's some questions we have about that. I mean, it has 44 beds. Maybe it won't be full capacity, but again, that's every 30 days. So you have maybe 500 people rotating in and out a year. So not only is this a concern about safety because there's no criminal background checks done. We had the informational meeting and we specifically asked about that, and they don't do a criminal background check. They did say they would check the sex offender registry, and those people would be red flagged. So, so there's problems about that with the sheer number of people, and given the lack of criminal background check, when asked also about when we were talking about the potential criminal behaviors, they did say that most of them probably have criminal backgrounds, and also probably have a mental illness that is in connection with their addiction, which is understandable. And again, with the hands-off policy, and it's an unlocked facility, it's not secured in any way because it's voluntary. There's some concerns about that. They did say there would be a lot of security cameras, but I mean, it seems like, I'm not sure there's security cameras, but more like monitoring cameras.
One more minute.
Okay, I might ask for some leeway since I'm speaking on behalf of like 40-some people, and we're trying to
Go
keep
ahead and
it to,
continue.
just a couple of people talking. Anyway, so, I mean, anyone can imagine, what possible safety concerns we have being so close. And again, the emergency response times and resources, we're Lancaster County. I mean, clearly, Crete City Police will not come out to our area. We've called them and they don't come out. So I would hope that some condition of approval would be that emergency securities need to be taken into consideration. I'll try to hurry up. As far as compatibility with the comprehensive plan, You know, in the staff report, it talked about providing housing and affordable housing, and you know, the average cost is $650 a day, but this isn't housing. That's what I don't understand. You know, there's no housing vouchers involved. It's medical insurance. You know, and I looked through the comprehensive plan. It's 365 pages. There was no mention of drug abuse treatment centers in particular, but I get it. There's a perceived need for them. I gave the reporter clerk some information about the number of facilities in Lancaster County. The other kind of just thing I want to point on really quick is that this is a rural environment, and that this property was a single-family residence, and so like the well that is on there, it's, you know, and the environmental things like the septic, stuff like that, is meant for a single family, not 50-plus people there every single day. And we do have concerns about water usage. We're all on wells, and we all have seen decreases in our water pressure, and we would ask that some type of groundwater, like well facility capacity test is done. There hasn't been any type of test like that done. I know I'm out of time. I just, again, our letter, I mean, there's more additional information in our letter, but I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. I think most of the community concerns are spelled out. And I'm just really here kind of as a collective, telling the collective opinion. So this isn't necessarily
just
my
so you
opinion.
know, I think every one of us has read the letters.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Twice.
Me too. No, me too. I had to read it twice.
Do we have any questions for her before we have her? We appreciate you coming and representing everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Other testimony in opposition?
My name's Pam Wakeman, and I live at 15751 Bob White Trail. This is still warmed up. I can show you where my home is in relation to the property. So this is the property that they want to change into a healthcare facility, and this is where I live. In fact, our properties join. I have a lot of concerns, and some of them were touched on by Jan, so I don't want to repeat them. First of all, I think healthcare facility was very misleading, and we did not get, or the majority of people in our subdivision did not get the letter from Lancaster County until the day after we had met with Stillwater folks. So that was disconcerting. The water, the research that is needed for security, health emergencies, that kind of thing. It seems to me that they're kind of putting the cart before the horse, that, you know, that would be part of the whole plan, because you got to have water, and you have to have some way to eliminate the waste, and they don't have plans for that, and they're not sure who to call or how with the resources. And in fact, I found it interesting. I called Crete to see if they had gotten the information from Lancaster County, and they said no, they hadn't, but they were aware of what was going to be there. And I found that very interesting, since a lot of Crete's resources will probably come into play with this facility. Definitely is not residential. I mean, 30 days, it's not residential. And I think that's a strong point to make. In our association, our assessed value on our homes is $12,668,400. Not a math major. And our taxes are $1,273,600. I think that's pretty significant contribution to Lancaster County. The Stillwater property is assessed at $121,900, $986.86, and this was all from GIS. And their taxes were $7,301.01, and that was in 2024. In reading the information that was online, the recommendation that the planning commission, planning staff did, it says that there might be a tax incentive in developing this property. I would definitely like to know more about the experience that they've had with their facilities and the effects on neighborhoods that they are in. I talked with a mental health professional about this, and she said, you better get a security system. Obviously, all of us probably have some money in our house if we don't have alcohol or if we don't have prescription drugs. And it's going to be pretty tempting, especially when you look at only 50% in from this facility.
Minute.
I see it, yeah. And the information that Jan sent in paper form, our research showed that there are 67 mental health rehab facilities in the state, and that there are 1,638 beds that are licensed, and Lancaster has 334 beds that are licensed. So I'm not really sure that this is something that's really needed. Crete, they're talking about serving Crete, but this is Lancaster County, and Crete is just on the edge of Saline County. So those facilities would be available to them as well.
That's time.
Okay, do you have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Go ahead and come on up, the next person.
Good afternoon. My name's Arthur Grinstead. I live at 15380 Bob White Trail. And just a quick bit of background about me. I'm husband and father of 6 small children who live at that same property, and it's our primary residence. And so obviously when this was sprung on us a couple weeks ago, it caused some concern for my wife, who homeschools and is there all the time. And as I was in the Marine Corps, and sadly, I have seen the effects of addiction there and in my own family, and I know how much these types of centers are needed. I'm also a medical doctor. I did some of my mental health training in Baltimore, in the inner city. I also trained at the Hazelden Betty Ford Clinic. So I'm very familiar with these settings. I'm familiar with the need for them and everything that goes along with them. And with all of that being said, it's, again, the proximity issue. If I hit a golf ball hard from my house, I could, hit this property. And there's no fences. It's a hands-off facility. These patients that are there, if they decide they don't want to be there anymore, where are they going to go? It's at least 30-minute walk to Crete, but our neighborhood is the only real feasible option. Whether it's them, perhaps not meaning harm, but just, oh, can I come and ask to use your phone or something? And you think about that for my wife who's homeschooling her 6 small children and it's very disconcerting, to the point where she has said, yeah, we'll probably move and be forced to if this happens because of that concern. Also dealing with the fact of Lancaster County, Crete, response time, and nobody can tell us what is the response time for Lancaster County to get all the way to the edge of the county in case there is an emergency. And that's a big concern for me. And then as a medical doctor I have certification in MAT waiver training in substance use disorder and have treated many patients in the hospital setting and the outpatient setting. It's very significant treatment and it's a very significant change. And if these patients know that this is a hands-off facility and they can just wander on out, that's unfortunately in that type of a setting. And yes, they said there's going to be some sort of screening protocol where the most severe cases will be vetted to inpatient. That's a very difficult thing to do, to just be able to look at someone and say, yeah, you're not going to be a severe, difficult case. It sounds good, and I hope that it goes well and fine, but to be able to guarantee that is not true. And, what is this going to do to the property value of our homes and surrounding area is, an obvious other concern that we would have. And, what is the plan in place if we have this sort of trespassing issue? Where are the, contingency plans, so to speak? And who are the medical providers that will be there? Is it going to be an actual medical doctor, or is it going to be just somebody giving orders via telehealth to a nurse who's just saying, okay, here's this medicine, and how are they going to respond in the case of a medical emergency? Have they been appropriately trained? Many, many questions, but obviously the biggest for me is as husband and father and, what this means for our neighborhood. So I at least wanted to bring those to your attention, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please.
Anyone with questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thanks.
Other testimony, come on up.
Thank you. My name is Dave Roger. I'm the property owner of 13,000 West Roca Road, immediately to the west, over the fence line from the subject property. By the way, I did also contact Crete Police and the Crete Fire Department, and when I talked to them, they knew nothing of the proposed rezoning. I support the previous speaker's objections without recovering them, whether it's safety or incompatibility with the comprehensive plan, or incompatibility certainly with the character of the neighborhood. Concerns about the water use in the environment. We do see fluctuating water levels and water pressures in that area. I also share their lack of demonstrated community support. And I also request denial of the request. But, I also have another perspective in addition to supporting those objections. Why do we have zoning? I've served on planning commissions in previous lives in other cities also, and I'd submit that we have zoning. Government sees it as a planning tool, as a tool to help manage the progress of the city. Residents and businesses see zoning as both a shield and a set of rules to live by. So, government can expect to use zoning, I believe, as the overall goal to manage the growth of land for the public good, while residents expect zoning to protect property values, while also allowing the maximum use of their land according to the zoning. Government uses it to promote health and safety, ensure fire safety, sanitation. Residents use it to ensure that we have confidence that the neighborhoods we live in will remain safe and livable. Government uses zoning for orderly development, to separate things that are incompatible or collect things that are compatible via zoning. Us residents use zoning to help prevent disruptive neighbors or to maintain the character of a community. Government uses zoning for infrastructure planning, align growth with roads and sewers and and the infrastructure, and the residents expect to use zoning, so we have access to those services. Government uses zoning for environmental protection, understand, preserve floodplains, open space, water quality. We use it for improving our quality of life. You use it for economic stability, support balanced growth, attract investment, property tax base. We expect zoning to help us preserve or increase our property values. I know you use zoning for legal consistency, all right? I know you've worked to provide transparent and enforceable rules without legal challenge, although it happens sometimes. We use legal consistency so there's predictability for us as residents as what can be built nearby for a fair application of rules. So, in addition to these types of uses for zoning, I would submit that zoning is also a promise. It's a promise to the community that we will have an orderly development plan to achieve the goals of a community with an improved quality of life. It's a promise to the community, and we can see the plan that you put together for that. It's also a promise to residents. It's a promise for what you can expect. Businesses, when you zone something for business, businesses can expect other businesses to be located with them for partnership. If zoning is for a mixed use, you can expect very different types of uses. We know that. Ag, we expect there to be ag, tractors and combines running around on the ag land. We know that. Residential zones, residential neighborhoods expect residential use. That's what was promised when you zoned that years ago in this particular area. So I ask that you do what I think you would expect in your neighborhood with your zoning, and that is keep your promise. So I request reconsider the committee's report. Work to find another location where services, if they're additional or are required at all, where they're closer. It's 30 minutes to Lincoln if you drive above the speed limit to this area. So I ask that you reconsider the request, please, and also deny this particular request for a special permit. Thank you. Any questions of me?
Thank you for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Howard Doty. I live at 15500 Red Wing Drive, Crete, Nebraska. I live in the development. Currently, I am president of the Homeowners Association. I visited with almost all my neighbors. Their chief concern is, we all agree it's a wonderful cause, and we all have demons in our own families. Their biggest concern is security. I've lived in the development 37 years, and I can think of 3 times the county sheriff has been called for an emergency. The Crete police are obviously the closest, but they won't service us. We do get some service from the fire department from Crete, but for the sheriff to come in the 3 incidences that I'm aware that they've been called for an emergency, it's been 45 minutes and an hour for the 3 incidents. We do live out on the far hitherlands of the county. In fact, I know the county sheriff that lives closest to us lives in Kramer, which is 5 miles away, but who knows where he's going to be. So I just wanted to give that further information, but security is high concern of most of the residents because we're such close proximity. The folks had a birthday party, and when they play music or fireworks, I mean, we enjoy it. We're that close. Sound travels across the lake really easily. So that's the only comments I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Betty Doty. I live at 15500 Red Wing Drive. Have lived there 37 years with him, and so we've been out there, one of the probably longest families that have lived there. And my history is I'm an RN that's now retired after 54 years. So I have worked in mental health, not as a choice, but having to do case studies and things through mental health. I've worked in the Omaha facility. I have to say that a lot of times your mental health and substance abuse patients are not always truthful. And consequently, when you're doing an online assessment, how do you really tell if that patient is wanting to get in and telling you the truth about their history, or if they're not? That's a pretty big concern for me, because I had an incident, and this is truth, that I was working with a patient probably for 3 months and doing a case study on them. They were doing very well. They were in a locked facility, which is what most patients that need some care really need. And he got a release to go home for Christmas to visit his family. And he got a butcher knife and stabbed his mother to death. So there are cases that do happen. This isn't a what if, this is what happened. The other thing I want to address is the number of question the need in Lancaster County for beds. Because if the state of Nebraska has 1,600 licensed beds, and Lancaster County has 463 licensed beds, and I have the data from the health department on this, and I have every location of every facility in the state of Nebraska. And in talking with the person about this, they said most of them are in Lincoln and Omaha, very few out west. He even quoted, like, North Platte has none, Alliance has none, McCook has none, and a recent facility just opened up in Hastings. They have about 60 beds. He said it's doing very well. He said the need is really out in western Nebraska. So I think you should consider the need for being in an area that is already pretty populated with beds. And I also did a study on one of the most licensed one in Lancaster County is the Bridge Behavioral Therapy. They are licensed for 68 beds. And I spoke with a director there, and I asked about his patients, what type of patients and that type of thing. He currently has 42 patients at 2 different levels, but they're 42 patients, and he considered that full. And I said, well, why do you consider that full? And he said, because of staffing and finance. And I said, finance meaning, why, if you have that license for more beds, why don't you build more things to have more beds? And he said one of them was staffing. And I thought, well, maybe you're over licensed for the state of Nebraska. Maybe you're over licensed for Lancaster County. Do we really need another facility when we already have license within the county? And then I was most shocked with what he said. Most of his patients are walk-in patients and homeless patients. So I thought, well, how are they going to walk down 33 and come into a facility? You know, so the type of patients that need the care maybe aren't going to get them when they're in a rural area on a highway. Any questions?
Anybody? Thank you for your testimony.
My name's Judy Seedoff, and I live at 15651 Bob Wright Trail. Oh, let's see. So, this upside down. Okay, so this is my property right here, backing right up into this, into the area, and again, some of the things that were said. I can attest to, right here, there's a nice little line, and that does say that is the Crete jurisdiction boundary, and so that's where the Crete police will not go past that boundary. Also, my son's car got stolen outside of our house right here in this property, and it took 45 minutes for the sheriff to come. We've also had the sheriff come to present to our community neighborhood watch. And he did mention that, yes, we are way at the edge of the county, so they don't get there very fast. As far as treating CREAT patients, I mean, if I go from my house to South Point, it's probably 25 minutes. So CREAT can be served for the same type of procedures that are in Lancaster County. The other thing is, we're in a rural community. Many of our people do like to hunt, fish. They do have alcohol, of course, and prescription drugs. We're right across this little spot here, and it doesn't take much for them to come across. So that's another thing. I also am a registered nurse, 43 years, and I'm still am. Have worked with people that have had substance abuse. We've had it in our family. I mean, so we appreciate that. I have had to personally hold down patients that have had issues from detox or other things. Most substance abuse people do have some other mental issues along with it. Many times it goes hand in hand. So there are those things. Since there will be no hands-on at the facility, concerns me a lot that they could just, it's very hard to hold somebody down when they are having an issue and they want to go. And if you're not holding them down, where are they going? So, there's all this other property over here that you can get alcohol, drugs, firearms, whatever you want, especially since they don't have any cars available. I think, let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh, speaking of, our property, and is this going to help my way of life? Is this going to improve my way of life? I don't think so. I'm not going to feel as safe. I built this, we built here, I've been here 33 years. This property was built residential in the 1970s, I believe. And it's always been very residential, very quiet neighborhood, very peaceful. All our neighbors can just come and go as they want. We don't have people coming into the area. It is a private road. We don't have people soliciting. If they do, that is a concern. So to have 44 people across the lake that could have some possible law issues, those things, that doesn't make me feel like that's improving my quality of life at all. Obviously, it's not improving my financial, because it will decrease the property value of my house. So those are the things I wanted to present to you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you for your testimony. Any other testimony before we move on? Okay, staff questions, please. Hi, George.
Hi.
Who would like to start? Commissioner.
So there were a handful of comments made regarding water concerns, septic usage. Do the site-specific conditions 2.1 and 2.2, would those address those concerns?
Yes, the health department is here today. I believe if there's more specific questions to that, but those were their comments in the review, and those were contained as conditions of approval that before they can get a building permit, they have to have their necessary water and wastewater permitting, including through the state and Lancaster County.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other staff questions? The question about the zoning and kind of our special permit process, maybe talk a little bit about this use in this zone.
Right, so this use is a residential healthcare facility. It's a special permit, both in the city and Lancaster County regulations. So in other words, it's a use that can be found in residential zoning through a special permit, as opposed to a different type of facility that might be more commercial in nature, where you need office or commercial zoning, for example. So this is not an uncommon type of special permit. There's obviously more examples in the city of Lincoln jurisdiction, but it's a use that's allowed through special permit in residential zoning.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission members. John Ward with the Lancaster County Attorney's Office, and I'm a deputy attorney there. I would just note the board previously discussed some concerns with the land use regulations versus other public safety, health, and wellness considerations. I would note that the zoning resolution itself came after we adopted a comprehensive plan where we had considerations of public health and safety in the first place. So the zoning regulations do presuppose some adherence to those types of things. And the county board additionally can adopt other regulations at any later time that it sees fit. Also, I believe most importantly for today, the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act do classify individuals with substance use disorders as having a disability. And if the board were to if the Planning Commission were to indiscriminately apply the zoning regulations based on the perceived dangers of people and these types of not in my backyard concerns, we would very likely lose on appeal in that case. Any questions? Thank you.
Steve Hendrickson, City County Planning Department. However, I completely agree with that assessment. I do want to make sure that there's some apples and oranges here. This is the county zoning regulations. What you had been having before you in terms of Oxford houses was in the city's jurisdiction, and that was a reasonable accommodation request that was specifically looking at the ability of people to live in a single-family dwelling, functioning in their assertion as a single unit, and they asking for accommodation based on their disability. That is not the request that you have before you today. This is not a reasonable accommodation. It's not collaborative living. It's not transitional living, all things that are found over in the city jurisdiction. This is for a residential health care facility. And so the assertions and things that if the city attorney was here, because it was in the city attorney's office, and that's why I'm jumping up, because John Ward, is the attorney for the county jurisdiction where we have not had those types of reviews. So it's really kind of two separate things in front of you here in terms of this is not a request for a reasonable accommodation.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I
Yes,
follow
keep
up on that?
asking. Yeah.
I'm sure it's online because you have definitions everywhere in the zoning. So can you do a brief definition of residential healthcare facility and how it's written in the Lancaster County zone?
Sure, I have it right here.
Thank you.
A residential healthcare facility shall mean a building or structure that is to be used in a residential nature, licensed or approved by the state or an appropriate agency if required. Residential healthcare facility could include, but is not limited to, these types of facilities: assisted living, nursing care, memory care, convalescent home, hospice home, group home for 16 or more people, and intermediate care. This use may also include independent living units, because some of our facilities are assisted living and also have independent living that are a part of one facility. I would also note that, as it's noted in the staff report, this application was sent to the county sheriff, who responded that they recommended approval. It was also sent to the Crete Volunteer Rural Fire Department, which covers the area of Crete, but also 120 square miles around Crete. So they also cover this jurisdiction. We do not receive any comments back from the Crete Rural Fire Department. I would note, though, that in terms of when we do have this, I'm sure if the sheriff was here today, they would tell you they serve 840 square miles and understand that every call for service in every part of that 840 square miles is equally important, and they prepare to provide service to the entire county, regardless of the distance it might be from the county sheriff headquarters.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions for staff? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Applicant rebuttal.
Just real quick, since it's become a topic of conversation, the
the focus with respect to Fair Housing Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, our goal was to present this project in a manner to show how suitable it is for the community that meets the requirements. It was not brought up once during the neighborhood meeting. The goal wasn't to bring a sledgehammer and say, sorry, we got to do this no matter what, and we don't care about input. We do care about input. But just to be clear, the answer is yes, and the county attorney said it. But when we're talking about Fair Housing Act and or Americans with Disabilities Act, and it is a little bit different than what you may have seen recently, because we are not asking for an accommodation because we fit within the special permit requirements. If we did not fit within those and there was something, then yes, we would be asking for an accommodation. And yes, the city ordinance does have a specific process for asking for an accommodation, but if there was an accommodation to be sought, it could be done in a same or similar manner with the county. Just because the county does not have a process to specifically delineate how an accommodation is done does not mean you would not ask for an accommodation. But again, the focus of our really was not to try to go there, but because it was brought up and it's been a topic of conversation, just wanted to say why we are where we are and why maybe is a little bit different than what you would have seen recently with some other projects, because they were asking for a variance essentially, and we're not asking for a variance. We fall well within the special permit requirements. So we're protected from a perspective of Fair Housing Act and ADA, but also within the fact that we meet the special permit requirements.
Okay, thank you. Questions, commissioners?
I have one for, okay.
We'll start down here. Thank you.
Yes, I think it was Chris that said that you would accept people regardless of ability to pay. I can understand Medicaid, insurance. Are there any that have slipped through the cracks?
I'll let Chris address this. That's his. I talk about distance requirements and buffers and things like that. I don't get into.
When you say slip through the cracks, can you elaborate more?
Is there anyone you have had to deny because of inability to pay?
It depends on the treatment center and the location. Generally, we have scholarships built in. So if they are an appropriate fit, meaning that they meet the criteria, and criteria meaning that they're not acute medical, they're not acute psych, they're not acute addiction treatment, a lot of what the concerns are about, and they fit the criteria for the program, we find every means way to be able to get them in.
Okay, second question.
Keep going. Mm-hmm.
Have you had incidences of people wandering off of the facility and getting into legal trouble or causing disturbances?
No, that's never happened at any of our facilities, and just simply doesn't happen. Staff are visually 24/7 awake staff, and are with the individuals impaired and working closely with them. It just doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner.
Similar question, I think. Is this site similarly rural as other sites that you have, or is it more rural, like more distance between neighbors than is typical?
We have a mixture, and Morgan's probably more familiar with our other facilities, but we have some that are city, urban, rural, neighborhood surrounding, so a combination of all the above.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner?
I'm good.
Your question got answered?
Good job,
Okay,
Commissioners.
on this end? Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not much rebuttal from me here, just that there was one comment that was made about a lack of community support, and I didn't go out and recruit letters of support, or I didn't write the letter myself and just go out to get signatures. I think that I could get an army of signatures and letters to support this. But you don't need an army unless you're going to war, and I'm certainly not going to war with my neighbors. I love my neighbors as I love myself, and so just wanted to make that clear. If there's something I need to go and do, okay. But that's why I don't think you've heard a lot of support other than the biased support that's coming from me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second, Evans.
Shelley?
Campbell.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Ebert.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
And I'd move that we approve special permit 250028.
I will second so we can discuss. Edens.
Okay, let's go ahead and start our discussion. Would you like to start?
this is rural, there's no question about that, but it's pretty well separated from the other housing development. And my only experience is with Bryan's Independence Center on the West Campus. And that is a more restricted situation, but it's a different individual that's being brought into that facility than what they're talking about. And are they going to have people that fail in their system? I believe they will. But I think they have enough of a system set up nationwide with professional staff and such that many others do not have. And so, including the Oxford houses. And so I will be supporting this motion.
Fellow commissioners?
I believe I'm going to support this motion, and there is a need. There's constantly a need. I serve on the foster care review board, and how many parents are facing addiction and waiting on a bed somewhere is astronomical. Every month in that meeting, it's somebody waiting on a bed so they can get sober to be a parent. It's real to me. It's touched my life. I understand every resident's concern. Do I want it in my backyard? What's the right number? Is 44 the right number? Is 36 the right number? Is 12 the right number? I don't have the answer to that. I agree there is some safety, security concerns. I don't know if it's any more than a rotten neighbor that moved in next door. I have one that lives next to me. I wish I could do something with them, and they're sober. I think there is a natural buffer. I'm looking at that land mass, and you count up how much that could be subdivided into houses, just like your beautiful neighborhood. Your numbers are going to equal close to the same amount. They're not overcrowding the bedrooms. They met with the neighbors. Thank you for doing that. I would have obviously denied if you at least didn't try to talk to them. I believe you're genuine and that you want to do it right and not impact your neighbors. So that's why I'm supporting it.
I think as someone who understands what it means to get JACO accreditation, to get licensures, to get the professional people that you need, if indeed you're going to be staffing at a 1-to-1 ratio, you're just not going to have the bogeyman issues that you're thinking about and hearing about. There is, while there may not be locks on the door, so to speak, I believe that there just isn't enough inpatient recovery options. There aren't enough recovery options out there. I do believe they're sorely needed in western Nebraska, even more so now with what will be happening to healthcare in the next 6 to 18 months. The question is always, would you have this in your neighborhood? Yeah, I would. I'm okay with it. And I live in a quiet residential, sort of rural kind of town where I do leave my back door open every single night.
Come to your house.
You have to get past 3 dogs. Good luck.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, anyone else?
I can't say it any better. Yeah, no, I'll
Okay.
support it. Good job, commissioners.
Okay. Again, this is something that is always our responsibility to be looking at land use. The special use permit with conditional approvals by staff has been well vetted, so I will also be approving, and I agree with my fellow commissioners on that. So, Shelley?
Campbell.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Ebert.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
Yes. At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so.
I would move that we adjourn.
Second, Evans.
Shelley?
Campbell.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Ebert.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Joy.
Yes,
We are adjourned.
thank you.